Welcome to the Backfield Buzz Podcast, a part of the Hive Podcast Network. Cody Wiles, Logan Glover, Andrew Foster here as we're going to for the rest of the NFL season. We're getting close, fellas. I think it's what are we like? I don't know, a couple weeks out, maybe less than 2 weeks
Yeah, by
now.
the time this is up, probably
Mhm.
like a little under a week, a little over a week.
Ooh, we are getting close. I saw like a little hype video for Scott Hansen and NFL Red Zone on TikTok.
Oh,
Chills, guys,
oh.
goosebumps. I cannot wait. I cannot wait. How are we doing tonight? Glover, you doing all right?
I'm good. I'm excited, and the first time I hear the 7 hours of commercial-free football this season, man, it's gonna be chills. Oh, it's gonna be the best feeling. I'm looking forward to it.
It's like
This
music to the
Oh,
ears, man. I've just been waiting for it.
I also saw another video with like just the different like theme songs. Like you got like the
oh,
CBS,
oh
like
yeah,
the NFL networks.
yeah,
Oh,
man.
we are getting close. So naturally, as it comes close, there's award predictions. Everybody's always wondering who's gonna win what's gonna happen. So that's what we're doing today. I guess is it an awards predictions or is it just kind of like shortlist? Who to watch out for? Are you guys like planting your flag today? Are we any solid takes, any hot takes tonight?
I'm
I
I'm
think,
pretty confident. There's quite a few on here that I'll plant my flag in.
yeah, I think
Okay,
I like my picks. I think a lot of them are guys I'm pretty confident are gonna win these awards.
interesting, interesting. All right. Uh, so let's get right into it. What do you guys want to start with? MVP? I feel like it's kind
Probably should
of
save that. I feel like we
you
should
want.
save that for the end. You know,
See, you're good at this podcasting thing. We got it. We can't
get
give
a little
away the goods right at
experience.
the start, right? Okay. Since we didn't get to talk about these guys in our positional rankings, if you haven't seen that, go check that out. We have done full offense, full defense, give running down some of the guys that we like going into next season at each position. We didn't include rookies, which like I don't know if you would really put rookies in that list. I don't know if they belonged in anyways, but let's start with the rookies. All right. Uh, let's start with offensive rookie of the year. Um, honestly, there's a couple of names. I don't think it's set in stone what everybody might be thinking as a Caleb Williams. Uh, the first overall pick is probably gonna have a lot of people betting on him. New look offense in Chicago. Let's start with Caleb, Frosty, because basically, how do you feel about the Bears and Caleb Williams getting slotted in here?
Uh, Caleb Williams is my number one pick
Okay.
for offense rookie. He's got so much around him. The weapons are just insane. I think the best weapons for a number one overall pick that I can remember in a really long time. Um, I just if the O line can hold up in front of him, I don't see any way that he doesn't win this award. I mean, he's already shown flashes of like brilliant throws in the preseason. So it's going to be hard for anybody to try and rip this award away from him.
Well, I, on the other hand, decided to go with Caleb Williams at number two. I felt like, let's have a little conversation. I went with Marvin Harrison Jr. I Caleb Williams is in a perfect spot, and it's gonna be so tight. But Marvin Harrison Jr. is in a really good spot to succeed as a rookie receiver. I mean, he's the alpha number one target, no doubt. He's got a proven quarterback. The roster's not great, but he's got pieces that can help the offense work and give him some support. And Jonathan Gannon's was decent last year. He actually did better than I expected him to do with that caliber of roster. So I like Marvin Harrison Jr. I just think he's in line to get a ton of work this season. And just with him being the most talented rookie prospect as a receiver that we've probably ever seen, I think there's chances he could break a lot of records that were set just a year ago by Puka Nacua. That's the that's the talent this guy has. So if things go right, I want to see Marv have a great year.
I do have Marv at two.
Yeah.
But for the exact reason that you just mentioned, we saw Puka Nacua break all the records last year and not win offensive rookie of the
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
So
but
I
that
that
that's
that that's
because
my thing.
there was a quarterback who was also breaking records at his position.
Yeah.
I don't want to, because I was just, as you were saying that, Clever, I'm like, well, how often do receivers really get this award? And I mean, before he just showed it was back to back with Garrett Wilson and Jamar Chase, but that's because there wasn't necessarily a rookie QB going off in those years. Like in 2021, when Jamar Chase won, Mac Jones finished second. He was the best QB out of that class. Remember, hey, solid rookie year from Mac Jones, to be honest.
Yeah.
Um, and
Man.
then the year after Garrett Wilson, it was Brock Purdy was the next best quarterback. So it's I feel like it's going to be skewed towards the quarterbacks. If the quarterback's going to have a good year, I think that's just going to get valued over that. And yes, MHJ is going to get a lot of work, but like, I really like. So you're fully there's NFL execs. There's a report that I saw. NFL teams or scouts or execs, some sort of people. I think Malik Neighbors has looked better, has been better, and is better than Marvin Harrison Jr. right now.
So I disagree with that. I do think Marv is better. But to me, it doesn't matter. If you think Malik Neighbors is better than Marvin Harrison Jr., sure. But he's not going to have a better season than Marvin Harrison Jr. because he's got Daniel Jones playing on the football. Straight up, that's like the only argument against Malik Neighbors. He's so talented, and I've been mocking some fantasy football drafts. I always want to take him because I'm like, oh, having him, he's so talented, he's so much fun. Oh, but he's got no one throwing him the football. I just can't trust him. The Giants' offense is preseason. They threw no touchdowns all preseason.
It's wild.
Like it's three football games, and they didn't throw a single touchdown. Malik Neighbors is uber talented, and he is on that level, but like he's in such a bad situation with his quarterback.
Yeah, that's kind of the reason why I have him outside my top three too. I do think Malik Neighbors has I'm not going to say a shot to be better than Marvin Harrison Jr. this year, but as a receiver, he's really not that far off of Marvin Harrison Jr. Like if Marvin was either a pick last year or next year, we would be talking about Malik Neighbors as one of the better receiving prospects that we've seen in a while. He
Yep.
just happens to be in the same class as Marvin Harrison.
Yeah, I was watching the Giants versus Texans preseason game, the one where Daniel Jones, I believe, threw two interceptions on like three or four pass attempts. It was very, very fun to watch from the Texans' point of view of things. But man, Malik Neighbors made a couple of catches that are pretty spectacular, and he looks really good. And there was a lot of talk, like even leading up to the draft, about he was getting hyped up, and then now we're hearing all these reports out of Giants camp, but like the Giants need him just on a side from not really being like rookie of the year conversation, whatever. The Giants need him to be like a one of these LSU guys, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson. They need him to be a top 10 guy in the league, not just good, elite. Like they need that very badly. But okay, so who else do you guys have rounding out the top three? Is there any other name that you guys have? Caleb Williams, MHJ, you guys both have.
I'm assuming we probably have the same three if you don't have Malik Neighbors. I got Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, I also have Jaden Daniels on my three.
Yeah.
I think people are sleeping on Jaden Daniels a little bit. I think he's going to come in and play really well.
Yeah.
Everyone's apparently saying great things about Jaden. It's just when you're looking at between him and Caleb, Jaden doesn't have much around him. They just traded Jahan Dotson, so that even narrows down the more options they have. The O line is still a work in progress, but I mean, I think Daniels is going to be a good player. He does still have Terry McLaurin, who, I mean, how good would he be on the Bears per se? Like I would take DJ Moore over Terry McLaurin, but I mean, are we confidently saying Keenan Allen is better than Terry McLaurin right now?
No. I'd love to see
So
what Terry would have done with Herbert during Keenan's days. Like, oh,
yeah, so Terry McLaurin's still a solid weapon. And he's got the legs. He's gonna rush for a bunch. I believe the line is set in like around 670-ish. So
see it.
what do you guys think about Daniels? Like do you realistically see I think he's a realistic contender
Oh
to
yeah.
win this award.
I think he's a contender, but I think he's going to have Justin Fields syndrome when he got drafted by the Bears.
Hmm.
Why are you taking a quarterback and then trading away probably your second best pass catching option? There's no he's got one option now. Like I love Ben Sinnott as a prospect. But he's not ready to be a number two yet. It's really I hate what Washington is doing around him, but I love Jaden Daniels as a player.
Yeah, I think it simply comes down to no matter what Jane Daniels can do, one, his style is a lot more susceptible to injury, which makes him a bit of a more risky pick for Offensive Rookie of the Year. But it's also he just doesn't have as much to lean on because yeah, he's got Terry, but Ben Sinnott's a rookie. His second receiver is Luke McCaffrey. It was also a rookie. The run game questionable with Brian Robinson and Austin. You don't know what you're getting there, as opposed to DeAndre Swift in Chicago, who's a lot more reliable and been a lot more consistent in his career. So
They got depth at the RB too
they do have
for
the
them.
depth.
Like
Yeah,
they
they've
got
got the
Khalil
depth.
Herbert still there. They have ooh,
Yeah.
their third running back is slipping my mind as well. I can't remember, but
Rashawn Johnson.
Johnson, he's a good
Yeah.
player as well. So they got Chicago has depth. Their O line is primed to take a step. If a couple of the young guys over there, their young tackles, develop. So you guys were basically spot on. For I didn't tell these guys the odds before they made their list. So they're coming into this blind. You guys have the top three in odds. Caleb Williams is the favorite at plus 120. Jaden Daniels, though, coming is the second, has the second shortest odds at plus 600, and MHJ right behind them at plus 650. And then there's a gap. So everyone else next is plus 1000 or more. Do you guys have like a deep sleeper here? Like somebody you've been seeing the reports out of camp and you're like, and we kind of mentioned neighbors, but anyone else that you guys are thinking? Glover, who do you got?
I'm going with Keon Coleman. I was planting my flag on the in the Keon Coleman camp from the day one of the draft. When he was taken by Buffalo, I liked Keon Coleman as a first round level player, and he's going to Buffalo where there's an opening at a wide receiver one spot with an elite quarterback who's going to have an MVP type season this year. That's a match made in heaven to me. Keon Coleman's got great speed. He's a great deep ball threat. That's just Josh Allen's like dream receiver right there. 6'4", runs fast, can hit a jump ball. That's I think it's gonna work out so well. I love Keon Coleman this
So,
year.
so if you had to guess, where do you think his like how far away do you think he is from being the favorite?
He's definitely got to be top 10. I think I'd go and say I think after the three you named, there's probably what Knicks, because he's a quarterback, neighbors. I think Coleman falls in the 6 to 7 range.
Yeah, you're pretty right on. I mean, Frosty, do you have a guess? I mean, what are your thoughts on Coleman?
I like Keon Coleman a lot. I think he should be Buffalo's wide receiver one. I don't know if he will be to start the year though, which is why I didn't pick Keon Coleman. But I think he'll probably be around that 5, 6, 7 range for odds.
Yeah, it's just they have such a hodgepodge of guys with
Yeah.
those receivers that they've like seven. We talked about it in our AFC East preview where they got like 7 or 8 guys who all do different things that I don't know. Even from a fantasy perspective, I'm not sure about Keon Coleman in his rookie season.
Well, I'm
Uh,
saying
he has the eighth shortest odds, plus 3,700. Uh, there's I won't say the rest. I won't say the rest before Frosty gives his. So, do you have a sleep? Is it Coleman? Is Coleman somebody you're high on as well?
So I am, but that Coleman's not my pick, but I use the exact same rationale that you did for my pick. Because my pick is Lad McConkey. And I exact same thing. He's got an elite quarterback. The wide receiver one on the Chargers is wide open. I think him and Justin Herbert could become a great duo. There's not very much target competition anywhere on that team right now. So I Lad McConkey's my pick. I think he beats out Quentin Johnston and everybody else there for the wide receiver one spot.
yeah, I think that's fair. That was my second. That was the guy I was going Keon Coleman or Lad McConkey, and the talks at a camp have been Lad McConkey's been amazing,
Yeah.
amazing route running, like amazing. He's just doing everything well. Jim Harbaugh can't stop talking about him, so I think it's a solid pickup.
Any guesses on where he is in the odds?
He's got to be the same range, I'd think. That 5 to 8 range.
I'd say he's a little bit behind Coleman. Did you say Coleman was 8?
Yeah.
I'd say McConkey's 10.
I think I'm gonna go one higher than Coleman at 7.
So funny enough, I promise this wasn't planned. They have the exact same odds. They're tied for eighth at plus 3,700. So there's two receivers above them. Sorry, three. MHJ and Neighbors, and there's one more.
Brian
Do you
Thomas
guys
Jr.
behind Brian Thomas is behind them at
It's got to be Roma
4,200.
Dunze, right?
It's not.
Oh,
Roma Dunze is behind Brian Thomas Jr. at plus 6,000. So Adunze, honestly, pretty good value. The 12th best odds at plus 6,000.
we talking like AD Mitchell here?
AD Mitchell's plus 7,500 behind Odunze.
Who?
Pearsall and Adonai Mitchell are plus 7,500. I love Adonai Mitchell, by the way. I
Oh,
think that's even a deeper sleeper according to the odds. Xavier Worthy, the seventh best odds to win Rookie of the
ooh,
Year, plus 1,900.
wow.
So Xavier Worthy, let's all right. Uh that Gotta love talking about rookie of the year, right? That's fun. I like these rookies. It's a good class. I think
Yeah,
it's a really
It's a
good
really
class,
good class.
especially offensively.
yeah.
And that like so let's talk about the defense, however. Defensive rookie of the year. Who do you guys at the top of the list here? Because it's feels like it's a lot more wide open, you could say. Just like because it's going to depend on it's hard to project defensive guys more so in their first year. So, Frosty, who would you bet on?
I to me, I think right now the number one is Dallas Turner. I think he could come in and immediately anchor the Vikings defense. Um, I I like a ton of things about Dallas Turner's game. I think he's really versatile. I love the way he plays. So and there's an opening on Minnesota right now for a guy that can come in and captain that defense.
Once again, that's the guy I've got at two. I've got Turner at
Oh,
two.
come
I
on,
I
guys.
I went Terry and Arnold at number one. I I think that Arnold's going to have a real great shot of just being the elite piece at corner that the Lions have been searching for a while now. You know, they've missed on Jeff Okuda a while back, and they've been looking to stir up that secondary. He's going to have a big opportunity there. He can have an impact that's going to be massive, I think. Like you're looking at the defensive rookie of the years, you're looking at players who are going to change their defense from day one, and I think Terry Arnold has that talent to do that and has the opportunity to do that in Detroit with a good team, a good system, some good defensive pieces around him. He got added supporting cast in the Lions secondary this offseason. I'm a big fan of Terry and Arnold.
Yeah, they are represented well in the odds as well. So who else do you guys have rounding out? Because I mean, honestly, it feels like there's a really big like tier of guys who could win the award. Is there any some Jared Verse love?
That's my number three. I went Jared Verse at number three. I think he's going to have a monster year with the system in LA.
Frosty, who else do you like?
So I got Terry and Arnold's my two.
Yeah.
And then my three is Laiatu Latu.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be an absolute beast on the Colts this year on their D line.
Yeah. All right. So who do you guys, so in that order, do you guys just think each of your favorites is the favorite for the rookie of the year, or is that who just you would pick?
That's probably my top three. Like that's who those are the top three I think are going to be there come the end of the year. Those are going to be the three guys in the heat of the race. I think the thing with Verse for me is just the LA had two really talented young players come right into that D line and have a huge impact. There's a gaping hole left by Aaron Donald. Someone's got to fill it. Jared Verse is uber talented. He's got like all the physical traits you can dream of in a defensive lineman. I think he's just going to be in a great spot.
Yeah, honestly, it's kind of interesting the names you see at top of the list. So who do you guys think is the favorite right now?
I would guess Dallas Turner is the favorite right now.
I think Dallas Turner's probably the likely favorite. Yeah.
Yeah, so Turner is a close second at plus 440. It's these two guys, and then everybody else is plus 1,000. So they think it's going to be a two-man race between Dallas Turner and Liatu Latu. Is currently the favorite, plus 400. So a couple of edge rushers. I guess Turner can do a little more than just rush the edge, but uh, yeah. And then so any guesses on third? You got Latu and Turner.
I I want to say Terry and Arnold. I think he's got to be in there.
I would guess he's got to be at least close.
He is. He is. He is fifth plus 1,400. So a couple of corners with Terry and Arnold too. Quinyon Mitchell plus 1,600 is right behind him. But number three is Jared Verse. So you guys were Glover was with the Verse pick plus 1,000. Byron Murphy. And you guys give consideration to the Seahawks lineman plus 1,200 slotting in between Terry and Arnold and Quinyon Mitchell. So uh an interesting group, honestly, very D-line heavy. The first four are D linemen, which is interesting. It's an interesting defensive class because there's really no like high pick. Like usually when you have like a really an edge rusher come into the league, like a top like Nick Bosa pick, a top Chase Young pick, like these guys are like the favorites. But there was just such a not a I don't want to say a weak for class for defensive guys. There's just no like blue chip prospects kind of guys, you know?
Yeah, like it wasn't a weak defensive class, it was a very strong offensive class. So it like the defensive side just got overshadowed by all the offense. Like, I think it was what 12 or 13 straight picks of offense to open the draft with an NFL record.
Wasn't
Like,
it a record? Yeah.
yeah, like this was an offense class. The defense was a great class. It just got outmatched by the offensive names.
So do you have who's your sleeper? Who's somebody who you think can rise to the ranks?
I'll let you go first.
My sleeper is Chop Robinson. He
Oh,
is
okay.
an absolute athletic specimen. If this guy can put everything together, he's going to be a demon on defense. He's got to figure some things out, but he's got like uncoachable traits that you
Yeah.
just like the explosiveness, the quickness that he has. You cannot teach that. If he can put everything together, he could run away with the defensive rookie of the year award.
So my guy originally, like before preseason started, it was likely going to be a guy like a Quinyon Mitchell or a Cooper DeJean maybe taking a step. I had to give a shout out to Nate Wiggins because he has been a dog in preseason. I mean, this is he just looks insane. So I feel like he's a little under the radar because there's a lot of good corners in this class. Terry Arnold is obviously the one, Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, whether he's corner or not. But this is a really strong corner class, and I want to give Nate Wiggins his flowers. He looked really dominant in preseason. I want to see if he can keep it up.
Where do you think Wiggins is in the odds, man?
I think he's a little further outside. I think he's probably outside the top eight.
But I guess I want a firm number.
Nine. I'll go nine.
Frosty?
For Wiggins,
Yeah.
I think his play might have moved him up. I'll give him 7.
He is I believe that is 11th, tied for 11th in a four-way tie for 11th.
With
Nate,
with who?
uh Austin Booker of the Bears, Kool-Aid McKinstry of the Saints, and Braden Fiske or Fisk of the Rams. So yeah, he's the third corner. Like him and Kool-Aid are tied as the third corner behind Mitchell,
And Arnold.
Arnold, and I'm not counting Cooper DeJean as a corner, but he does have higher odds than that.
Yeah.
All right, Frosty, who's who? Oh wait, sorry, Glover. Who are you
That was
sleeping
my
on?
dark horse. That's my
Or
dark horse.
or Frosty? Did we get Frosty's
You
dark
got them
horse?
both. You got
No.
them
Yeah,
both.
mine was Chop Robinson.
Oh, Chop, right. So I forgot Chop because Chop he's represented pretty well on the seventh, plus 1700. So
Oh,
and then there's a gap between the next highest odds is plus 3000. So Chop's in that top seven definitively. I don't know if he can defend the run right now, but man, there is some
Yeah,
clips going around of him looking really great. And there's potential playing time for him too on a team that's going to be good.
yeah. And he's got other edge rushers to support him because if he's not playing well against the run, they can swap in Chubb and Phillips when they're both fully healthy, and that'll give him some extra support there and help insulate him a little bit if he has issues.
Yeah, you would like to think that they would want to get their both those guys' snap counts down a little bit.
yeah,
I'm wondering if he's just going to start as like a pass only defensive end. I'm not sure how they're going to use him because he struggles to defend the run. But if you have an only pass rush only snaps, I don't know. That gives Chubb and Phillips, who are a bit better, bit bigger bodies,
Yeah.
defending the run a bit better. So I don't know. Any other thoughts on the rookies in general for these awards?
I think it's a real talented class. I'm really excited to see him. I think a lot of guys got put into really good spots and should be a good class.
All right, let's touch on comeback player of the year. Why not? Just who do you guys think? I mean, there's one name to me that stands out, and that would be Aaron Rodgers. That's the one that's standing out to me. Are you guys kind of in the same boat?
No.
nope.
Okay, I've got Aaron Rodgers at one. I just like if he has a healthy half solid season, I just don't see how he doesn't win it just because he's Aaron Rodgers coming off a torn Achilles, and I think the Jets are in a good spot to succeed this year. It feels too easy. Like I feel like he's almost like minus money. It has to be with the way it's looking. But I want to see what you've got one then.
So I don't have Aaron Rodgers in my top 3.
Oh,
Um, number 1, I have them going 12-5. It's got to be Kirk Cousins. I mean, I
I
mean, like, yeah. I think Kirk Cousins is going to come back and have an incredible season. I think Kirk Cousins comes back better than Aaron Rodgers, and I think that's going to win him the award because I think he's going to win a lot of games with Atlanta.
I knew that by not looking at the odds for this award specifically, I was going to be missing someone. Kirk Cousins is who I missed. I don't have on my list. I totally blanked on his injury, and then he's coming back.
Yeah, I there was a lot of names I didn't even think of before I opened up the odds. I promise I thought of Aaron Rodgers before I looked at the odds, but there's a bunch of guys here who I was like, oh yeah, like that's a realistic case. So Frosty, run. Who else do you like then?
My second is Joe Burrow and my third is Nick Chubb. Uh Joe Burrow, I think he has the highest level to get back to, which is why I think that Kirk Cousins wins it above him. And Nick Chubb's hurt to start the year. So I think if Cousins plays the whole season, he just gets the advantage over Nick Chubb because he played the whole season.
Yeah, so I kind of had the same thought with Chubb. I just didn't have him on my list because it was like he's not coming back till like 4 or 5 weeks in, so he's not going to be able to get a full workload in. I did go Joe Burrow too because again, if he stays healthy, he's probably just going to be really, really good as per usual. And then I went to Cooper Cup 3 because he seems to finally be coming into the year healthy. So with a good workload, he can maybe get back to an over 1,000 yard receiver in a fully healthy season. I think that'd be put him in the contention there.
I don't know if I'm just missing it, but Cooper Cup is nowhere to be found on the odds. Like
Wow.
he's not even an option to be bet on.
Really? He only played like 8 games last year.
So that would put
Wow.
him uh 23, 26, 28 outside of the top 30.
Yes, he had 12 games. He had more games, but 12 games, 737 yards. Like he was not he's coming back from a poor injury riddled season. All right. I guess, man. Oh, maybe I should put him as my sleeper pick then.
Maybe you could. I mean, honestly, your sleeper pick is probably on the list. So
Maybe
who is it?
I went with Jalen Phillips. I
Okay.
is a mix of him coming back from injury and a breakout season leading to comeback player of the year if he can get to that, over 10 sack mark, which I know he has the talent to do if he's healthy and come back from a torn Achilles too. So could see him being a good pick there.
Yeah, he's 14th, tied with Mark Andrews at plus 10,000. Frosty, who do you think is low, slept on?
Mine's Christian Gonzalez.
Oh,
I think Christian Gonzalez looked so good before he got hurt last year. And if he can come back and have the same level of speed and agility that he had before he got hurt last year, this guy could insert himself into top five corner conversations.
see, I thought about Gonzalez 'cause I love him. I think he's going to be so good this year. But it was more a matter of like, I had the same thought with Anthony Richardson. They're both sophomores. Like, are they really coming back to anything? Like, they're not really, they never had a point to get back to. But we've seen it happen to other players in the past where they don't have a point to get back to and they win the award. So it's an award that's very vague and anyone can win it. But I do love Gonzalez.
Yeah, honestly, if you're betting on comeback player of the year at this point, like maybe you've got bigger problems to worry about because
Yeah.
it is such a
We'll put a
vol
phone number at the end of the video.
you don't even know like there's literally a difference in what you're coming back from.
Yeah.
Like you could come back from bad play and get it, not just getting hurt. So yeah, Aaron Rodgers is the favorite at plus 200. Burrow right behind him at plus 220. And then Kirk Cousins at plus 500. So that's the top three. I completely even forgot about Anthony Richardson, similar to what you were just saying, Glover. It was just like, yeah, like I don't know if like knowing the award, yes, it'll count if he has a really good year. He's plus 750, and then there's a gap. So there's a top four like that, and then yeah, Nick Chubb, Daniel Jones, Sam Darnold, Kyler Murray are all kind of in that area.
Daniel Jones and Sam Darnold, are we being serious right now? Over like
The sixth and
Jalen
seventh,
Phillips or Cooper
yeah,
Cup?
the sixth and seventh best
That's
odds.
crazy. Wow.
Um,
Wow. Okay. All right. Don't bet
uh,
on comeback player of the year, kids. Don't do it.
We
It's a
can't
bad
we can't
idea.
get back on the Daniel Jones hate train again. We already did it for like half an hour in one video. We can't do this again.
We've already touched on it already with the league favors.
Yeah, so let's blow past Coach of the Year as well while we're at it, and then we'll get to the big ones, offensive, defensive, and MVP. Who do you guys have at the top? I mean, to me, I'm I'm torn. So I'm interested to hear what you guys think.
Well, I went with Raheem Morris because I think the Falcons are in line to take a big step as Frosty's been pushing a lot lately. So, and I feel like they probably are going to take a big step. And honestly, if I could go back and redo our division previews because we did these, well in the past, they added Matt Judon and Justin Simmons in the recent weeks. So I'd have a little higher. I'd have them winning a few more games now because I think they're a lot more talented with those two. And Raheem Morris, if he can make that, he doesn't even need to have a crazy winning season. He just makes the stars on that team finally click. He's probably got it because that's been their problem for years. So I think he's in a pretty good spot to win it.
Yeah, yeah. Raheem Morris is also my pick. I'm gonna keep pushing this Falcons agenda until they prove me right. So, Raheem Morris.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is second. He is second. There are two other people tied for first. Uh, one of them is shocking to me. Um, so who else do you guys like?
Well, I think I just thought of who's probably up at the top, but he's not on my list, and that's Jim Harbaugh.
He's the
But
favorite. He's tied
I
for the
have him
favorite.
second on my list. He's
okay,
second on
Yeah,
mine.
he's tied for the favorite.
okay. I went Robert Saleh as my second because I think the Jets should take a jump. That's the big thing is what teams are going to take a jump. It's often rookie coaches, and that's why I didn't put Robert Saleh ahead of Morris. I think the Jets will be better than the Falcons, but I, since Saleh's been there for the past, couple of years, he doesn't get as much credit for that jump as much as like Aaron Rodgers coming back will. So he won't probably be in line for Coach of the Year to the same pedigree as if the Falcons have a good year with Morris.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can see that. I do have Harbaugh second, and then my my third's Shane Steichen out in Indy.
So is mine. So is mine. I think Indy's going to be real good this year. I like what Shane Steichen's doing.
Yeah, so Steichen is fifth in the odds, plus 1400. Uh, but Salah's a bit lower. Salah's much lower actually. I believe that's 14th, tied for 14th. Um, so he's decently low. Okay, let's Glover, I'm surprised you haven't said this one name. I'm hoping he's your sleeper pick. He should be based on your comments on this podcast. So I'm interested to hear what you have to say.
Well, there's two guys I think I've talked up a lot on in terms of coaching, and one of them is my sleeper pick, and that's Dave
I
Canales.
knew it. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I
I
saw this
love
one
him.
coming from a mile away.
I think that if the Panthers have a solid year, just a respectable year, and Bryce Young breaks out, Canales should win it. Like
I think I know the other name you're talking about as
the other
well.
name I was thinking that you could be talking about is Mike McDonald,
And
but
yeah, he's
I just don't think
God,
this.
you're so predictable.
Read him
But
like a
I
book.
I didn't put him on my list because I just don't think the Seahawks are in a good enough spot to win. Like I just don't think he's in a position to be able to win Coach of the Year. I think he'll be a great long-term coach for the Seahawks, but I don't see them making any noise this year, which means I don't see him winning Coach of the Year.
Yeah,
Yeah, Frosty, you got a sleeper?
mine's neither one of those two. Mine's Kevin O'Connell of the Vikings. If he can make things work in their quarterback room right now and keep Justin Jefferson from ripping the hair out of his head, I think he deserves the award.
Yeah. Yeah, I like Kevin O'Connell a lot. He's a really talented offensive mind. Like that's a good shout. I never really considered him at all.
He made the pastronaut Josh Dobbs look like a
Yeah,
legit starting level quarterback for a while there.
For a
yeah.
couple of games, yeah. Uh, he's top 10. He's 10th.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
yeah. Uh, Canales is plus 1600. Uh, and then O'Connell's plus 2000. McDonald's plus 1400. You guys have said only two coaches in the top five for the favorites though. So there's somebody tied with Harbaugh for first at plus 1000 and then followed by Raheem Morris at second at plus 1200.
Is Matt Eberflus up there?
I was shocked to see Matt Eberflus be tied for the favorite.
I didn't mention it when we were talking about it, but that's honestly one of the reasons I didn't have Caleb Williams winning is I don't trust Eberflus. I don't think he's a good coach at all. I think he gets fired after this year. I don't think he wins coach of the year. I think he gets fired.
The bad thing is I could see either result happening. I think if they
Yeah.
do well, I could realistically absolutely see him winning coach of the year. And if they don't do well and they only win like 5 games again this year, I think he's gone.
Yeah, like I when we did our predictions, I had the Bears sub 500. I think it was a mistake to not bring a fresh coach in with Caleb Williams, let them grow together. That's always been a recipe for success with these young quarterbacks. And I don't think Eberflus is it. But I get why he's up there because the Bears are projected to be such a good team this year. And if you go from a team in the top to picking in the top 10 to playoffs, the coach is going to win coach of the year.
Yeah. Yeah. So Matt Eberflus tied as with Harbaugh as the favorite, Morris at second, Matt LaFleur in third,
Really?
D'Amico Ryan's in fourth at plus 1400. Um, so the Ryans is also tied with Shane Steichen, Mike McDonald for fifth. Those guys are all same money. And then Canales is at sixth. Jonathan Gannon at seventh, which I think is a decent shout. I think the
That's not.
Cardinals could be all right. Uh,
All those are weird though.
and then Callahan and O'Connell tied at plus 2000. So,
What's the Mike
um,
McCarthy odds looking like?
The
Mike
top of the list to
McCarthy,
get fired.
Does he even have odds?
he is at the very bottom of the list, tied plus 6,000.
That fits. That tracks.
Tied with Andy Reid, uh,
Who?
Kevin
Well,
Very,
Stefanski, John
very
Harbaugh.
different reasons for,
yeah.
for those
You know,
placements.
you've got Stefanski's the winner last year, so he can't possibly win it again. Harbaugh and Reed have been winning, so it's not like they're going to win it. And then McCarthy's just going to get fired.
Yeah. So that does it for coach of the year. It's honestly like that's another one where it changes from year to year. Like usually in a normal year, D'Amico Ryans wins it last year from taking that team uh from the pits of despair to making the playoffs. It's a regular season award, so I kind of feel like more people were got more rowdy about it than I did. I expected Stefanski to win it. Uh, but like based on how the playoffs went, like
I I think it's also looking at the team and who does the like who does everyone give the credit to for the success? And with the Texans, it was a lot easier to go, well, Stroud was so good. Whereas, the Browns, you couldn't go, well, their quarterback was so good. Which one? They had like five. Stefanski did a lot that year, but that's why I was surprised to see D'Amico so high on the list this year, is because he basically did as much as he could to win it last year. There's no room for him to improve, like the Texans were a great team. Great teams or good teams getting to great very rarely wins the coach of the year award.
I mean Stefanski.
Yeah, but I think it was an outlier situation. Like, you have four different quarterbacks start for you that year, or maybe it was five actually. That's really impressive to do and make the playoffs.
Yeah. We'll see. Maybe it's just a case of like a year too late kind of thing. Like that also happened. Like I feel like if there's really no one else that's like taking it, like maybe the Falcons aren't the best. Like we'll see what happens with the Seahawks and the Panthers, whatnot. But I don't know if the Texans come out and have another really good like if they're first in the AFC, like by the end of the year, if they get the one seed, like I don't
Yeah,
think that's off the table just based on how Kansas City cheats the regular season. I mean, Baltimore's a good team, but I mean, I don't know. Maybe they're a team that maybe should stop prioritizing the regular season because that's something they do. Maybe this is the year when they
absolutely.
realize, oh, we're gonna be battling with KC. Why are we, So
I sure hope so.
Houston is a hungry team, and they only got better. So like realistically, like I think they're a shot at the one seed, and maybe there is money for D'Amico there at plus 1400.
Yeah, I think really it's going to be you got to get the one seed. You got to be that, coach of the year because you're on the best team in the league. That's kind of where you got to be for D'Amico. It's a high bar for him to get coach of the year.
Right. All right. Let's do offensive player of the year. It's a fun one. Frosty, who who do you like? I feel like you could rep any one of your guys for offensive and defensive player of the year, which is low key kind of annoying. But do you have anybody at the top other than CD Lamb?
I have CD Lamb one. Um,
I could read you like a book too.
My yeah, yeah. You know what? If I took the hat off, maybe a little bit harder without the hat, but it's okay. Yeah, I've seen Lamb number one. In the contract year, if he plays, I think him and Dak go crazy again this year. And I have Amon-Ra, St. Brown at two, and Breece Hall at number three.
Okay. I thought about Breece Hall. I did. I didn't put him on a list. I went Saquon Barkley number one. I think he's just gonna be a beast in that new Philly system. I did go CeeDee Lamb too, because yeah, you mentioned it, contract year. Like he's got so much to prove. He's got a massive chip on his shoulder right now. I think he's gonna be go nuclear this year. And I went Garrett Wilson three, who you could argue is more of a sleeper pick, but I think he's had over 1,000 yards back-to-back seasons with the revolving door at the quarterback position, and now he's got Aaron Rodgers. He's in line for a real big breakout season, and he could be one of the contenders.
There's a lot of names you guys have excluded
Yeah.
to be that
There is.
are very interesting. You guys went a lot younger and more so than I thought. Like the favorite, who do you guys think the favorite is then? Is anybody on your list?
Tyreek Hill probably.
I would assume it's got to be Tyreek and CMC at 1-2, right?
Yeah.
That's what it is. Yeah, Tyreek
Yeah.
plus 800 is the favorite. McCaffrey plus 950. CD Lamb in behind them at plus 1100 at three. So I'm surprised you guys didn't have Hill or McCaffrey.
McCaffrey won it last year. I don't see him going back to back.
You'll see why I don't have McCaffrey in a second.
Oh, I think I just thought of your deep sleeper. I think unless I'm way overthinking it, I think I just think I figured out your deep sleeper, but I'll let you see if I'm right here.
Do you want to know? You want to know what the sleeper is now?
I'm
Let's do it.
curious.
Who do you guys think
So,
can make a case? I mean, you guys made a case for a bunch of guys that are already low. So this sleeper is going to be. I'm scrolling down right now. I'm getting ready for it.
my sleeper pick is George Kittle.
Oh, okay. I went way too
Um,
deep.
Oh
I had
wow.
him. I had him ranked as the number one tight end over Travis Kelce. We just got a fully healthy season of Christian McCaffrey, which is like once in a blue moon, it feels like now. I don't wish Christian McCaffrey to get hurt. I love watching Christian McCaffrey, even as a Cowboys fan, but you have to assume the injuries are going to come at some point for him. The Brandon Ayuk saga seems to never be ending, and Deebo Samuel's starting to take steps back now. I think all the pieces are there for George Kittle to have like a 1,500 yard receiving, like 10 to 12 touchdown year and win Offensive Player of the Year.
Yeah. I didn't. Yeah, George Kittle is he's the only one without question marks in San Fran. It feels like everyone else has got some sort of doubt, and he's pretty reliable. I went to DJ Moore, who I think is going to be the bona fide number one in that Chicago Bears system this year. He's the only receiver there that's played a year in Chicago under Eberflus. He's, in my opinion, by far the best. You got Rome's a rookie. Keenan Allen's had a ton of question marks in training camp. He's getting up there in age. Old receiver going to a new team doesn't always work out. I think DJ Moore is in line if him and Caleb Williams can feel more connection to be a monster this year. And he's one of my favorite players.
Side note also, did you guys see Keenan Allen apparently gained like 30 pounds this
Yeah,
offseason or something?
it's only making my DJ Moore stock go higher, man. Like I am drafting him in every league I get. I love DJ Moore.
As a proud DJ Moore owner in a keeper league, I'm very
Yeah,
happy.
yeah,
I will say I think it's a bit overblown. I mean, uh, guys come into camp weighing a bit more. I like it's not good. Like but I'm sure like during camp because that was a measurement at the start of camp. I'm sure he's gonna drop like
Yeah.
15, 20 of it by season's end, but or by season start, sorry, and just continue to get in shape. Which I mean, I don't know. It's a bit of a weird thing to come out like that is a lot of weight. Um, but like he will for sure, he'll shed some of it off, is what I'm saying.
yeah. But the other concern with Keenan Allen is his health, considering he just is never healthy for a full season. I mean, the last time he played a full season, like he played 16 of 17 in 2021. Besides that, you go back to 2019, like he just is never fully healthy. He always misses games, and it's just gonna open up an opportunity for a guy like DJ Moore to just take over as the. He's got more, if he's healthy, he's got more time to build a connection with the rookie quarterback, which just leads to more yards for him.
Well, you guys had like these guys are snoozing. Like these guys are very low. Where do you think DJ Moore is?
Oh, he's low, I think. I'm going like top, like outside the top 20.
That's what I was gonna say too.
Yeah, you guys are on the right track. 28th, at plus 7,500. How about George Kittle?
Probably
I
even
would
lower than that.
I was gonna say I think George Kittle could be like bordering on like the 40s.
Yeah.
75th.
Oh my God.
Yeah, he is 75th. And there's a bunch of guys below him. You can on these are all odds via FanDuel, by the way. There is a ton of guys you can bet on Offensive Player of the Year. If you feel that strongly about Kittle, uh, maybe go
Place a
sprinkle.
What are the odds, did you say?
I'm trying to find it again. There's so many guys. There is so many players. He is. Oh, there he is. Plus 20,000.
Oh my God.
Yep. Tied
Man.
with Marquise Brown, Hollywood Brown, and Cortland Sutton, and
Oh,
D Hop, and Aaron Jones, and Chris Godwin, and Jared Goff, and James Conner, and Kyle Pitts, and Matthew Stafford, and Mark. Oh, there's a lot.
there are some crazy names in there.
He's tied with Javante
Cortland Sutton.
Williams. Javante Williams for Offensive Player of the Year.
Did I just hear George Kittle and Cortland Sutton are
Zach
tied for odds?
Zach Moss as well is plus 20,000.
You can bet on Zach Moss to win Offensive Player of the Year for the same amount of return as George Kittle. We're
There's
talking
easy.
about a guy who might not be a starter on his team and a top two tight end. Oh my God.
I kid you not, there is close to 200 guys you can bet on. Like you can bet on Luis Reese Zammit, uh
The Australian, right?
the
Or is he English?
Australian rugby player. No, he's Wales, sorry, he's Welsh. The Welsh rugby player who's now with the Chiefs. You could bet on him plus 40,000.
I thought they said they were making him as a tackle.
I don't know if there's even plays.
He's a small guy. He's a running back receiver and he returns kicks. So he's been doing a lot. He's a smaller guy though. He's not like a Jordan Mailata.
He's
That
not,
sounds like I'm betting on Cordero Patterson to win
that
Offensive Player of the Year.
that's gotta
Somebody who
be.
didn't play the sport you could bet on, which
I think that's gotta be something to do with the fact that he's been so like well renowned and well talked up over in Europe because I'm looking at the Chiefs depth chart on ESPN right now. He's not there. He's not under running back. He's not under the 12 receivers they have. Not under tight end.
yeah, FanDuel is wild for that. But
Wow.
I'm a little bit of rugby fan, like a very casual, but like I know about this guy. Like I knew about this guy before he came over. Like he's fast, man. Like he's quick. So yeah,
Of course he is.
he basically played like he played out wide in rugby, so the farthest out you could go, the wing position, and you just have to be fast and shifty. So we'll
Sounds like I'm
see.
fitting great in Kansas City.
Defensive player of the year now, where you can similarly bet on a ton of guys. It's kind of crazy. Anyways, Frosty, is it Micah Parsons? Don't tell me you did Cowboys for both.
Micah Parsons is my number two.
Oh,
Oh,
I did
okay.
not go Cowboys for both of them.
oh, yeah,
I I have Max Crosby winning
yeah,
Defensive
okay.
Player of the Year. I love Max Crosby alongside Christian Wilkins. They are going to absolutely eat on this Raiders defensive line, and I just I, I just think he's more likely to win it because I think Christian Wilkins could be versus the edge rusher. I think it's Max Crosby.
Yeah, I flipped with you again. I went Micah Parsons one, and I went Max Crosby two. I think same reason. I think Max Crosby's going to eat with support on the line. I think it's really going to be a big year for him. But I think Micah Parsons is just due. I feel like if he's even in the conversation, I think we're going to get we got to give it to him because it's about time kind of thing. I don't want to see that. I really don't. But I think odds are if we're in a race and you're looking at, Micah Parsons, Miles Garrett, TJ Watt, Max Crosby, the typical guys in the race, and Micah Parsons is just in there, odds are he'll get it because it's his time. He's due. He needs one because he's too good to not have one. But I do think he's also just going to have a monster year, a defensive player of the year caliber year.
Yeah, so back-to-back defensive player of the years is actually somewhat common lately. Uh like Donald did it in 17 and in 18. JJ Watt did it in 14 and in 15. I really think Miles Garrett could just go back to back because he's that great. And I mean, you could argue he was the best defensive player on the best defensive team last season on the best defense, and he won it. And he's putting up numbers while getting double teamed like on a crazy percentage of his snaps. So who else do you guys have rounding out the top three? Does Garrett sneak in?
Not for me. So my 3, 4, they both could be considered dark horses. I mean, they really are both kind of. They're not. I don't think either of them is like super close to the race. I went Kyle Hamilton as my three because the reason I think he's a dark horse is because secondary guys don't win this award. But I do think if he takes another step, which he's in line to do because of the way he's developed so far, is going to be the numbers are going to be pretty ridiculous. And my dark horse was then Aiden Hutchinson, who might be more likely to win it because he's an edge rusher. That tends to be where the award goes. But again, he takes another step as well. Both these guys, 30-year players, they keep on their trajectory. They're both in line for monster years. I think Aiden Hutchinson can eclipse over 15 sacks this year and start really getting put into those elite edge rusher conversations.
Yeah, I was tossing three guys for this third spot. It was Miles Garrett, Aiden Hutchinson, and the one I ended up going with was TJ Watt.
Yeah.
I have TJ Watt at three, and my sleeper is Kyle Hamilton.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
that's my that's my not quite as deep sleeper. Yeah, you want the real deep one?
I
The real
do.
the
I
real
do.
deep in the bag? What y'all know about DeMarvion Overshown?
The Marviano, what are you talking
He's
about? That you got to be trolling.
I'm brother. Okay, so
What are you
the only
talking
reason I put him on here is if before the
for
Deron Bland injury, I
defensive
wouldn't
player
have put
of
him
the
on.
year?
Yes, before the Deron Bland injury, I wouldn't have put him on there. But this guy played safety for, or yeah, he played safety for his entire life until he was too big to do it in college, and now he's a linebacker. But the Cowboys right now are almost using him as like a nickel and as a linebacker and as a pass rusher. He's been doing everything, and if he actually can stay healthy and can rack up like double digit sacks and like 5 picks, I think there's a shot. He's got the coverage skills because he was a DB for his whole career before his last few years in college. I'm not saying it's likely. You probably can't even bet on him,
No,
but that's
you
that's
can't.
that's
And that's
that's the
saying
And
something.
there's
deepest.
like 200 guys.
That's saying something. You could bet on a lot of
That's
guys
the that's
here.
that's the deepest sleeper. Yeah.
That might be the most biased thing I've ever heard. In
It might be, but I'm pushing
DeMarvian
DeMarvion
Overshown
Overshown.
for
I'm
defensive
pushing it.
player of the year. Is he a second year guy now? Or is he
Yeah, but he didn't play. He didn't play at
He
all last
didn't
year
play last year. I'm looking at
because he was
the
injured.
empty
so is
Pro
he
Football
eligible for
reference.
defensive rookie of the year?
No, he won't be.
I
Not,
don't
not
think
the way the
so.
NFL
Oh,
works.
okay. Okay. Not the like the
Because I
NBA.
was I was gonna
Yeah.
put him under that, but I looked it up. So
Oh,
I just wanted to talk about him, so I put him under D play instead.
I just wanted to talk about him. All right.
More people
So
need to know about DeMarvion Overshown, man. This guy's
okay.
gonna be unbelievable.
Well,
Oh my God.
unfortunate. So there is a Cowboy who's the favorite for defensive player of the year, just isn't overshown, surprisingly.
Really?
Uh
Really?
Micah Parsons plus
Oh,
500 is the favorite. Garrett closely behind him at plus 600. TJ Watt plus
yeah.
750. Crosby at plus 1000, tied with Nick Bosa around at the top five.
Yeah.
Um so yeah, I honestly the Kyle Hamilton pick is not too far off. You guys both were pretty close. Gilmore won it as a DB 5 years ago in 2019, and then Palomalu in
Right, well,
2010. And then I mean Woodson won it in '09, so you had back-to-back DBs there. I mean, Hamilton isn't crazy far off. Eighth at plus 3,000 with Hutchinson and Jones right before him. Plus 1,400, plus 2,500. Chris Jones can make some noise. I don't mind that.
yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
it's like he's a type of guy who could get it. Same how you're saying about Micah Parsons. Like this guy has been a wrecker, and like you said, the award tends to go defensive lineman. And if Jones puts up double-digit sacks again, like he usually does from the interior spot, getting double teamed all the time, I
I
wouldn't mind sprinkling money on that.
I think he is due, but I think it's more of like interior D line, just not as flashy as edge rusher.
He
So no,
makes it flashy.
he does. He's the best interior D lineman in the league. But like, you know, a guy who rushes the edge is just like just cooler than a guy who rushes on up the middle. It tends to be where it goes. Like it's the same why DBs don't win this because I mean, really, then Sauce Gardner and Pat Surtain would be near the top, but I
Yeah,
couldn't put him on even on my dark horse. So I'm like, they don't get thrown out enough to win it because you need to have like 15 interceptions to win it as a DB because you just
yeah,
if you don't get thrown at, you're not winning it. And those two never get thrown at.
yeah, and that's represented in the odds. The top six are all edge guys. Jones is the first non-edge guy, and he's still defensive lineman at seventh. But then Hamilton is at that at eighth. So
And I think that's due to the fact that he kind of does a little bit of everything. He can get the sack numbers and he can get numbers without being thrown at per se. And that's sort of just why he fits into there a little better than a natural cornerback would.
yeah, interesting. Yeah, there's a lot of defensive linemen. I believe Hamilton, now I'm looking at it, is the only defensive lineman, or sorry, only non-defensive lineman in the top 15. Everybody else is a defensive or an edge rusher. Yeah, Daniil Hunter and Will Anderson Jr. right after Kyle Hamilton, which I mean, Will Anderson Jr., Montez Sweat, Rashawn Gary, Trey Hendrickson all have better odds than Sauce Gardner to win the award.
Like that's
Like
crazy.
it takes a lot, man, for a corner to win it. And Sauce Gardner doesn't play the ball hawking style that's flashy enough for defensive player of the year.
Oh, like if Deron Bland didn't win it last year, breaking the record for pick sixes and almost having double digit picks, like it I know he got beat a lot. He did get beat a lot, but like it's so tough for DBs to manage to, especially corners.
Yeah.
It's the big bad one award, guys, MVP. Uh, very fun award to talk about. I mean, at the top, I mean, Frosty, that's how you podcast. You tease. Oh, you had a good lead. Um, so what's the big deal at MVP? What do you have in store for us? I mean, after hearing about DeMarvian overshown for Depoy, I now know this can go in literally any direction. So I'm not even gonna offer a guess. Just go
No,
ahead,
I
brother.
don't want the disrespect on DeMarvion Overshown, man. Okay, I'm not talking
It's
about it
not
anymore. Anyway.
disrespectful.
Anyways, my MVP pick, I think this is Josh Allen's year. I think the storyline of him losing Stephon Diggs, he loses Gabe Davis. If he can get this team to 12 wins and they win the division, I think it's Josh Allen's award to lose as long as he can somewhat limit the turnovers this season. And I don't think the interceptions will be as bad this year because I think they're going to run the ball a little bit more.
yeah, you know, and maybe it's shocking that I'm gonna just say preface this. I don't have Lamar Jackson anywhere on my list. So I just wanted to get that out there. But I actually also went Josh Allen. Again, I think it's his year. I think he's finally just he's in a spot where now his team is solely relying on him to run this offense. Before you could always go, well, he's got the elite receiver and he's got all this, all this, all that. He doesn't have that this year. He's gonna make three receivers like Khalil Shakir, Keon Coleman, and Curtis Samuel. He's got James Cook, who's a great back, but he's got to make this offense great this year. And I think the improvements we saw from him in terms of taking care of the football once they swapped OCs, Joe Brady took over and they stopped just chucking the ball and they ran more of a balanced offense. It's going to help bring his interception numbers down, which in turn is going to help him win MVP. And again, it's also going to be similar. He's one of the only elite quarterbacks who's always been in the MVP race and never won it. I don't think we're going to get another Drew Brees, Russell Wilson scenario where they're always there but never win it. I think he's probably got it this year.
Yeah, fair enough. Who else do you guys See, Josh Allen. I don't know. I don't know about Josh Allen. Well, he's represented well in the odds. Not the favorite, but
Wonder
I
who
mean,
the favorite
Frosty.
is.
Just who do you think the favorite is?
Patrick Mahomes.
Frosty, you
I
think
would
so as
say
well?
Lamar Jackson.
Yeah. So Mahomes is the favorite. Lamar. I was just looking at it as you guys were talking. So he's seventh, and I believe there's only been five back-to-back MVPs ever.
That's why. Yeah.
So I mean, you gotta have a truly special year, I think, and just there not really be competition.
Yeah. That was part of the reason why I didn't put him on, partially because I think, it's same thing with coach of the year in a way where going back to back in that award is just kind of weird. It doesn't really fit. The most valuable player being at the same player 2 years in a row, I just don't see it happening. And I also just see a lot of guys taking big steps in this that are in this conversation.
Yeah, like you got to be a special player to do it, and the guys that have done it are Rodgers, Manning, Favre, Jim Brown, and Montana. So
Yeah.
pretty
Yeah,
good
that's not a bad
company.
list.
I mean, hey, it has happened recently. Like Rodgers did it in 2020 and 2021. So there's some precedent, but I think there's just too much talent and much people at this like Mahomes, like, if you're talking about like voters fatigue or whatever, like Mahomes didn't win it last year, so and if he goes out and has a crazy year like he did in his 2022 season, I mean, whew. All right. So anybody else you guys like?
My, go
My
for it.
my number two is CJ Stroud. Yeah. I figure he had a really great year last year, and if he takes a step up in his sophomore season, there was talks that he could have been in the race for MVP last year, and you throw a jump up on those numbers, a fully healthy season on top of it, odds are he'll be in the contention if the Texans keep up, and he adds a better support in the run game with Joe Mixon. He adds another elite receiver, Stephon Diggs. He's got another year of building with Nico Collins, maybe a healthy Tank Dell. He very easily could win it. He's in a good spot for that. And I feel like the MVP often does go to quarterbacks in their first couple of years. Like that's where a lot of these guys won it. I mean, Lamar and Mahomes both won it the first time their first full season as starters. So like that's something that happens often. Then my three is Mahomes. I realistically don't see him winning it because I don't think the Chiefs are going to be that good in the regular season. But I also bring it to them at 14-3 because I can't see them losing a ton of games because they're the Chiefs. But they don't value the regular season. I don't see Mahomes necessarily being in this race, but with the way I predicted their season to go, I can't not have him here.
Yeah, that's fair. My 2-3, I'm double dipping on both Texas teams. I got CJ Stroud and Dak Prescott.
Yeah.
I have Stroud at two, Dak at three. I think all the reasons you mentioned for CJ Stroud, I think he takes another step forward. I think he's going to be one of, if not the best pocket passer in football. And Dak, I think Dak could have a similar season to last year. But I think once again, because I think CeeDee Lamb is going to win Offensive Player of the Year, I don't think you can be the most valuable player while another player on your offense wins the Offensive Player of the Year award.
Yeah, so Stroud, I'm glad you guys brought up Stroud before I did, because I'll go on a little rant, but he's third at plus 1,000, and then Dak Stone at ninth plus 2,000, tied with Tua.
Oh,
How does that make you feel,
That
Frosty?
seems a little disrespectful, but that's
yeah.
okay.
Who
That seems a
was
little harsh.
I don't know if Tua is the most valuable player on his own offense, man. That's a little
I don't
rough.
know if Tua's top three on his own offense.
Yeah, I think that might be more likely.
Yeah, well, but before I hear you guys' sleepers, I just want to talk about CJ Stroud. Any chance I get to talk about him is just I love it, because I will personally be betting on him to win MVP. And similar to what we were just talking about with like the coach of the year and D'Amico Ryans, I think the Texans have a legit shot at the number one seed. And if that happens, obviously Stroud's gonna have a monster year, right? So if he does that, I mean, there's a world where the Texans realistically, I believe, could win coach of the year, MVP, and have the number one seed. I think kind of the number one seed has to happen for either coach of the year MVP to happen, in my opinion. Especially if Josh Allen is a monster again, like he usually is. But yeah, of course I'm on the Stroud bandwagon, and they only got better. The offense looks great. The O line suffered a massive amount of injuries last season. Like I believe they were one of the most injured O lines. If that can, the O line started to get pretty bad for him towards the end of the year, and then in the playoffs, it was just nothing for that Ravens front as well.
Yeah.
Um, so if they improve weapons, good O line, they're gonna be a good team. I will personally bet on CJ Stroud. All right. Any who do you guys think are being slept on?
I I couldn't decide. I was trying to pick one and I couldn't pick one, so I got two. I don't think both are pretty deep in my opinion. They're great players, but they're in poor situations and have a rough shot at it. But I'm going Justin Herbert because he's so talented. If that LA team makes the playoffs, he deserves a shout out. Like yeah, it's going to be him. He's in a similar boat to Josh Allen, except he's got worse weapons. He's got a worse run game. He's got a worse. Actually, he might have a better O line. He's got definitely a worse defense. He's in the same similar style of situation with no alpha receiver and no real big time playmakers, but also a step down. So if he can drag them to the playoffs, he deserves a shout out for MVP. And I went Anthony Richardson because I think he's going to be amazing this year if he's healthy. That Colts team is scary, and I think they're in line for a great year. If Richardson's healthy, Taylor's healthy, you got Michael Pittman, Josh Downs has been making a lot of noise. We touched on AD Mitchell. I think he's also going to be amazing. They got a great O line. He's in a really good spot to succeed under Shane Steichen too in Indy. So I just love Richardson. I think it's a little far-fetched to get into MVP race talks, but I think he can do a good get like into that maybe near that range for next year.
So I've ripped on the guy that I picked as my sleeper for MVP a lot. Mine's Trevor Lawrence.
Oh.
Um, I think he's got five guys on this offense at least that he can rely on every single down to catch the ball. Evan Ingram's one of the better receiving tight ends in football. Travis Etienne's a great pass catching back and a great running back. And then his top three receivers are Brian Thomas Jr., Christian Kirk, and Gabe Davis. Gabe Davis has had his inconsistency problems. It's well documented. But if he can be the third option, maybe even the fourth option on this offense, I'd be happy with that. And if Trevor Lawrence can take care of the ball, I do think this Jags team can take a step. He just has to show that he can start keeping the ball in his own team's hands and get sustained drives down the field more consistently and just stop throwing stupid interceptions and stupid fumbles.
Yeah.
Yeah. Herbert and Lawrence tied at plus 3,000 for 13th. So both outside of the top 10. Richardson right behind them at 14th plus 3,500. So uh decently, I mean the Richardson one is yeah, I think like you said, it might be a little far-fetched, but I mean it's kind of like the Marvion overshown argument. Like if, you know,
Whoa. Wait. We are
no,
not
no, in
comparing
no
Anthony Richardson and Marvin Overshone right now.
in the sense that like not eligible for defensive rookie of the year, but just
Yeah. Okay.
because he played, but it was just so little that like
Yeah.
you can't really see MVP, but you're expecting a big year. Um, so yeah, Mahomes, Allen Stroud, and then Joe Burrow and Jordan Love round out the
Mhm.
top five for MVP. Hurts at sixth, Lamar at seventh, Purdy at eighth, and then yeah, Tua and Dak tied for ninth.
When
So
Frosty, when you said that there was a guy you ripped on, I thought you were about to pull out Brock Purdy, and I was going to be
Yeah,
baffled with the way you talk
absolutely
about
not.
Brock Purdy. I was like, "There's a no way this guy's throwing Brock Purdy into MVP talks with
No,
your thoughts on
no,
him."
no. I could go be starting QB for the Niners. He's like the seventh most valuable player on that offense.
Uh,
the top 18 are all quarterbacks. Who do you guys think is the first non-quarterback?
Tyreek Hill or CMC.
Micah Parsons.
It is CMC.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is CMC.
I mean,
And then
realistically, Tyreek Hill and CMC should both be over their own quarterbacks. Like, come on now. Like, there was arguments for them to win it last year. They're both more valuable to their offense than Brock Purdy and Tua Tagovailoa. They just are. Like, come on now. We know this.
Yeah, the only non-quarterbacks that's at the top 30 are CMC, Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, CeeDee Lamb, and that's it. Inside the top 30.
Jesus.
You
Like,
got names
That's
like Will
crazy.
Levis, Justin Fields, and Russell Wilson, both in the top 30 over players like Jamar Chase, Miles Garrett, uh
Micah Parsons,
Micah Parsons, or what you
Max
have it.
Crosby.
So yeah, Max
That's
Crosby's
insane.
decently low too. Gardner Minshew has this better odds than Max Crosby to win MVP.
What have we come to, man? Come
By,
on.
by a decent chunk. Minshew has plus 20,000
The
and
quarterback takeover
Crosby
of
has
this
plus 30,000.
the quarterback takeover of this award is ridiculous. Like,
Jacoby Brissett has better odds than Max Crosby. Sam
come on,
Darnold,
man. He's not even gonna
Like,
start.
Daniel
Like,
Jones plus 1,500, the same odds as Jamar Chase, Russell Wilson. He's top 30 as well, or just outside it, top
Jacob
31.
Jones isn't even a top 30 quarterback.
brother, this is crazy, man. The fact that we legitimately like it's realistic that Sam Darnold and Daniel Jones are going to be better shots at MVP over the best defensive players in football is stupid. It is stupid. I do
I
not
mean,
care what position you play. Tyreek Hill was the most valuable player on the Dolphins last year. CMC was the most valuable player on the Niners last year. Max Crosby was and will be the most valuable player on the Raiders this for the next 5 years. This is nuts.
I will say though, like clear cut and dry, no questions asked. The most valuable position is quarterback. So
Absolutely.
I agree with quarterback getting that because they're the only position where every single down they play, they touch the football. Every single down. So I do agree with there should be quarterback a bit of quarterback bias for MVP, but in absolutely no world am I ever saying Daniel Jones is more valuable to the other team than his own.
That's why he's up there. That he's
I
going to win
mean,
MVP for the 16 teams he plays.
I mean, guys, it's basically quarterback player of the year or it's
Yeah.
another offensive player of the year award. Only two times a defensive player has ever
Yeah,
won MVP. Lawrence Taylor in 86 and Alan Page in 71. So
Digimon
it's
should be on that list.
hey, you're telling me. You're
Yeah,
telling
yeah,
me.
yeah, fair
Uh
enough.
um so it's it's unfortunate how the award works, but like usually last year was a bit like Lamar deserved it for sure, but it was definitely a bit of a weaker race than in normal,
Mhm.
which I think you could agree,
Yeah.
Glover. Like usually there's one quarterback on a really good team who's going off, and it's gonna be that. And I think that's what a lot of people are expecting this year with like, Josh Allen and this new offense, of CJ Stroud taking a step. People just still like Mahomes to go crazy. So
Well, the years I knew that this award was never going back to a non-quarterback were the Aaron Rodgers back-to-backs. Because he had great seasons, but Derrick Henry wasn't even like a finalist in 2020. He didn't even have any votes. And he ran for 2,000 yards. Like, are we serious? The next season, too, that Aaron Rodgers won, you gave Aaron Rodgers a back-to-back MVP with a solid year. He was good, 4,100 yards and 37 touchdowns over Triple Crown Cooper Cup. It's like one of two or three Triple Crowns ever, and he didn't win MVP. That's when I was like, you know what? It's just never going to a non-quarterback again. It's
It'll
just
never
too far
happen.
gone.
You have to be so astronomically good as and like you have to have like it's got to be 2,500 yards is the benchmark now.
You
If a
also
receiver or running back hits 2,500, then they have a shot. But I genuinely think that's the only way.
you have to have that, but you also have to have a year where every quarterback is just mediocre. You can't have a
Yeah,
single quarterback with even a solid year because you won't win it. Like we're
yeah.
looking at 145 catches for 1,947 yards and 16 touchdowns, all NFL best, near NFL records.
I mean, it's really honestly just a quarterback and running back award
Yeah,
at this point. Like I don't know, receivers never won it. Only four non-quarterbacks have won it since 2000. And they're all running backs, the last being Adrian Peterson in 2012. So it's really just the quarterback award. And then if a running back's going crazy, which I mean, there was talk that people still think it should have been McCaffrey last season. So running backs
Should.
can get close, but usually if they don't win it, they just become the offensive player of the year, like the Derrick Henry year and talking about in 2020 and CMC. So um, that about wraps it up. I mean, with a MVP rant at the end, but like it could be revised. It's not going to change. So um,
We're stuck with
it's
it.
a what are you going to do?
Yeah. We're gonna sit here and rant about it for a couple of minutes on a podcast, and
Yeah.
hopefully the NFL just sees us and goes, "Man, we got to change it."
I
But
can't I can't exactly just dial up Roger and tell him to change their formatting
what's
for
going on
how
here,
they get the
Roger?
award. Yo,
This
buck
is not
off.
working.
All right. Well, that about does it. All the awards. I mean, technically, there's assistant coach of the year. Um,
Todd
which,
Monken.
hey, Texans OC Bobby Slowick is favored. So we'll leave it at that. All right. Who I do think is a very good coordinator, by the way.
Probably, yeah, he is.
Like, I was afraid he was getting head coaching interviews after only 1 year in Houston as the OC. So,
There was talks
uh,
about where McDonald went, and I could have kept McDonald.
oh yeah, it was a interesting coaching carousel, by the way, as
Oh
well.
yeah,
Like, just
there's some good coaches this year that are coming into good situations.
yes, but yet Dallas still.
Yeah, what's going on there? Didn't they have a DC that was really good? Oh wait, he went to a division rival, Dan Quinn.
He looked really good until the playoffs.
True, he did fall apart. That defense did fall apart in the
That
playoffs.
that game, I will say, made me significantly more okay with losing Dan Quinn.
That's fair enough. Fair enough.
Because that made me think now, it really does not matter who's calling plays, because we just suck.
And then didn't you have a pretty good OC who people like as well?
Kellen Moore, but
Yes.
he's long.
Yeah, Cowboy
I mean,
or
people
Kellen
like
Moore,
Kellen
but
Moore though.
I don't think Kellen Moore. I doubt he
All right,
goes
maybe I'm higher
anywhere.
on Kellen Moore.
I'm not as high on Kellen Moore. I think last year was a product of Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb being absolutely unbelievable. I don't think it was really Kellen Moore's offense. CeeDee
All
Lamb
right,
made a lot. CeeDee Lamb made a lot of play designs look really good because he can make catches in double coverage.
all righty. I like Kellen Moore. Uh, but all right. So that about does it. I mean, Glover, any last thoughts to close us off here?
Now that we hit all the last thoughts, it's the last thoughts and the last thoughts. We've had a couple off-topic rants, so I think we should just let it end.
All right. All right. Well, thanks for watching. Coming up the pipe, I believe we're gonna have some fantasy content. I think that's next on our plate. We're still working through the details, but I think we got something planned that I think would be cool. So thanks for watching. If you like the video, drop a like, go check it out. What else we have on the channel? Season's coming up. Got like a week and a half left. We previewed literally every single team in the NFL. We have put out 8 episodes of division previews, touched on a lot. We did a lot of work on that. So, hey, subscribe if you like the videos. We're gonna keep trying going. Season's starting up. We're gonna be pumping out content, guys. We've been pumping out a lot. So, yeah, thank you for watching. And as always, keep it buzzing.